Gamers! We love Mario Kart, don't we, guys? Especially Mario Kart Double Dash. Is there any denying that GameCube charm? I think there is. A shining gem on top of the crown that was the GameCube era. Full of classics that we all wish either came on NSO or got a port. Now, you're probably wondering, but Musty, you've made this video before. And you're right, I have. Well, back then I was a little gup, swimming along the seas of Mario Kart. And also, I forgot to do the OST in that one. Don't ask me why. But this time, we're going to rectify it in the best way I know how, and that is with two different tier lists. One for the racetracks, and this time, one for that charming OST. And where better to start than the first track of the game, brought to us by Modern XP. Everyone say thank you, Modern XP. Luigi! Circuit. I heard that some people like to say that you never really start off with your best track. I don't know what idiot decides to coin that term, because in the case of GCN Luigi Circuit, just starting off on a fantastic note. I mean, there's just something about a dual pathed road that you can use to attack enemies that are like lagging behind. That's just really funny. It gets the job done of being a simple starter track. You have these outside lanes for a bit of speed in case you haven't mastered drifting, and you have the inside lane if you've got on your hands at the controls at this point, which honestly, good luck. The controls are slippery as hell in this game. Are you joking me? Honestly, you take a drift wrong, you end up in Crash Tag Team Racing. Bloody hell. Good God, how do we pop with these loading times? I mentioned the addition of a couple of nice alternate little paths that you can take that were omitted in a certain remake that shall not be named. And you've got a starter course that does the job and does it pretty well. I mean, I certainly think this is a solid choice, and you're not convincing me otherwise. This is my list after all. How does that iconic circuit theme stack up? Really one makes you wag your finger, eh? I think the whistling kind of adds that very uplifting vibe that the GameCube era just kind of had in spades, you know? I feel like with any other circuit theme in any other Mario Kart game, you can kind of interchange them and they all kind of get the job done. But this is unabashedly GameCube Double Dash era, you know what I mean? Especially made more apparent by the fact that in the 8 Deluxe remix of this, they kind of tempered the whistle somewhat. I quite like that remix, but this one just has that whimsical charm about it, you know? If I use charming one more time, I'm going to be taken away by the phrases that get overused by hack fraud critics police. So in order to avoid a criminal record, I will simply put this in... I'll put this in B. I'm jiving. I'm definitely jiving. Once we're done having fun in a circuit track, we go under the sun in Peach Beach. Let it be known, gamers, that Peach Beach committed a glorious, it's the opposite of a sin, a reverse sin of deciding to include one of my favorite enemies in all of Mario Kart, the humble Cataquack. Any game that has a Cataquack that isn't Mario Sunshine is a game that I absolutely adore. I think Peach Beach continues that mushroom cup energy of being relatively simple, but I think it ups for some interesting-ish game design with the tide, you know? If the tide is low, then you're able to cut through the water pretty easily. If it's high, you've got to be a bit more wary with your wits, especially if you take that alternate path to the left too. But regardless of tide, those Cataquacks are spread out quite well. I really like that, and if they end up catching you... They also home in on you when you catch up to them just briefly. Maybe enough to catch up to you at the last minute of that. I think they make for a very compelling hazard. I think Tide makes for some interesting game design, especially for Shortcut. And that pipe shortcut cannot go understated neither. I think it's just really... I almost said the word. But I think it's just really funny how there's a alternate path that isn't really a shortcut. It's just an alternate path, you know? Every shortcut is an alternate path, but this is an alternate path that isn't a shortcut. Make of that what you will. Only the GameCube era could do that in its eccentricities. Honestly, I'm going to also put this in beta. Maybe C you could argue, C plus you could argue, but it's the reason it's not in C plus but makes the jump to B is the Cataquacks and the view of the rock if you look at it in third person. Be sure your parents aren't watching if you decide to do that. I'm not responsible. But does it feel like a Beach episode when I listen to that OST? Ba-ba-ba-da. Ba-da-bam-bam-bam-ba-ba-da-ba-da-ba. In the modern day, I think it definitely is wanting for that glorious counter melody in the 8 Deluxe version. I think this one definitely does a job too, without a shadow of a doubt. And I just love the sending bit. Yeah, I like, you guys know this by now. I like beach music, sue me. I'm gonna go ahead and put this here as well. We're just having a bee time here, gamers. We're having a bee time. I've had a very consistent stance when it comes to Bay Park. You exist in one of two sides. Either you are normal and based, or you're cringe and you kick dogs for fun. Which side are you on, gamers? I'm willing to hear out any grievances about the 8 Deluxe version, especially in regards to the DS version. But the original counterpart does exactly what Bay Park intended to be. It's short, it's cramped, coupled with the insane chicanerous items, and you have a recipe for disaster. But a masterclass of a disaster, baby. I absolutely adore Bay Park. And if you hate it, Sonic Racing is over there, okay? Leave Bay Park to the real men. In my original, if I'm not mistaken, I put this in S, and without a doubt, it maintains its spot. The chaos on this map is absolutely unrivaled, and if you don't like this, in all honesty, I question that you even like the series in the first place. But that's neither here nor there. Is the music where it's at? I know 8 Deluxe captured that chaos better with having the pitch and tempo increase as the laps go on, but this one also does that too. It might take a little longer to ramp up, but the music absolutely reflects its chaotic nature without a shadow of a doubt. And while I think it's maybe arguably a little too simple to reach my favorites, I'll also put this in B. It's just B's all around, isn't it? I feel like IGN at the moment, bloody hell. Would have ranked higher if it wasn't for 8 Deluxe's remix just setting the bar incredibly higher. But this one is also pretty solid. I'm jiving. But we're going to be bumping and jiving as we go to the dessert, or should I say desert. This is yet another sign to watch Breaking Bad. Now here we have a stage that generally is more often than not in contention for one of the worst in the game. Even in a series, I've seen some people say. But in its original counterpart, I feel like that's extremely harsh. And you know exactly why I'm going to say it. It's got that GameCube quirkiness. It's got that GameCube quirkiness about it that I absolutely adore. With the tornadoes that wisp you up and throw you back down without necessarily having to black screen like most Mario Kart hazards do of this era. You have that bog monster that will happily chew you up and spit you out. You have the pokies that kind of like wiggle their heads in a way they're like, whoa, to like kind of stop your forward progress. Especially some of them are in between items as well. It can be a bit tricky to kind of align yourself to grab an extra item. And while the Mario Karts of this era are kind of known for this, so I'm not going to give Dry Desert here too much props for that. I think the off-road chicanery you can pull off in this, it has to be stated. It definitely ends up being a better asset in 8 Deluxe, where the shortcut opportunities are much less pronounced in our current era of Mario Kart. That being said, I think the theme of desert is just never going to really entice me as so many others are gonna. I mean, it took till Wii for us to get a pretty fun desert track to drive on, and it took till 7 for us to have one that really sells the theme quite nicely. Like at least Yoshi Desert had like the Yoshi Sphinx, I guess, and Calamari has the train. This one doesn't really have anything too much going for it. And don't get me wrong, with its aforementioned hazards and having the most complicated layout in the cup, it serves a solid Mushroom Cup ender. But when the tracks before you were a pretty good circuit track, a theme that's hard to botch, and chaos personified, being an overused biome without any sort of glitz or glamour kind of leaves you punching a bit above your weight class. I don't think it sparks enough joy for me to put it anywhere higher than C. C is about the best you're gonna get Dry Desert, I'll be honest with you. Especially relative to some of the later tracks we're gonna see. Yeah, Dry Desert is definitely Little Mac, except a realistic version of Little Mac where he dies immediately because he's just really tiny and shouldn't be winning against a giant hippo man. I'm sure Dorkly or Mashed has probably made a joke about that, so I'll leave it to them. At least the music must be good, right? I don't really mind this desert track, but it definitely is giving desert track of all time vibes, you know? Like Dry Ruins had like a punchy melody. You had Bone Dry Dunes that really rocked it with those live instruments. Even the Dry Desert variant in 8 Deluxe does a very good job of being imposing with those heavy drums. In this one, it doesn't really do much to stand out. I mean, it's got that sitar, I suppose, which does sound nice, but it is just giving We're in a desert, guys. I'm not bumping. I'll be honest. I'm not bumping. But then after we're done driving through Albuquerque, we end up in the city center of Albuquerque in Mushroom Bridge. I think Mushroom Bridge is one of the better traffic tracks. It doesn't do anything mind-boggling, but for a Flower Cup track, I think it has windy enough roads, relatively cramped, especially in a high-octane Double Dash game. The traffic serves its function well enough. You also get the Wiggler car and the Mushroom car for an extra bit of charm. I'm just gonna say it. Charm. Yeah, I said it. Arrest me. Arrest me! And if the Wiggler bus crashes into us. Mushroom and Bomb car are pretty cool, but everyone likes the Wiggler bus. But you know, I also love just as much that fucking bridge shortcut that I always thought was really hard to do when I was a kid. Replaying it now, it's actually not as tough as I thought it was. But it still isn't really much of a shortcut. It's one of those alternate paths, along with that pipe on the right-hand side too, and the gated area you can fence yourself in on the left-hand side, making you perfect green shell bait, if you ask me. But overall, Mushroom Bridge, yeah, it's a decent traffic track. It's kind of completely mogged by a later track with a similar name and the same theme, done a bit more interestingly because it's in a later cut. I'll put it in C+, though. It's good enough. It does the job. It does the job. The theme might have been mogged by City, but am I living in the city when I listen to the music? I always like to imagine that, like, bah, that you can hear was like someone like honking their horn as if there's like traffic going on, you know? Oh boy, I just love the hustle and the bustle of the big city. I really, really do. This bit here, I really like. I love that ending bit. The piano on the ending bit, the slight reprieve you have with the piano. That was always my favorite part. The music does the job and then some. So I'll put it in. Do you know what? I'll put it in A. I actually put it in A. I actually really like this. I thought I'd put it in B, but it's in the playlist. It's in the playlist. And once we're done living through the city, we go to Mario Circus. Do I like what you've done with the place? Or is it just like all of your other circus in that it's just kind of boring? I mean, I would say the big Mario sign is a sign of narcissism, but like it's literally called Mario Circus. So eggs on my face, really, eh? But this one is, it's a Mario circuit. The change-up's a nice touch. I think there's a Mario Circuit that's definitely saved by its Double Dash isms, you know? Like, in this game, the controls are really slippery, right? So having a hazard where it's just piranha plants on the side, kind of forcing you to take a thinner racing line, I think it's decently compelling for a Flower Cup track, you know? It is very, very easy to actually slightly veer and hit one of these guys, so having there's a bit of a skill check, it's quite nice. It's quite nice. I think the same could be said for the Goombas that are going to come up right now. You can see like the road is really bumpy, so it's a bit hard to like firmly steer where you're going to go, especially with this ending bit as well. Again, you have to straighten yourself out there so that you don't hit one of the piranha plants at the end. So it offers a nice few skill checks, but doesn't really do anything compelling if you ask me. I guess the double mushroom shortcut past the change up is quite nice too, but it's a Mario circuit, guys. It's already a theme that I'm not particularly interested in circuit tracks, and it's the obligatory Mario circuit. We get one of these every time, and yet none of them have particularly done much to win me over. Yeah, you could just... You could just stay here. All the best to you. Just do better, Mario. Just do fucking better, okay? I mean, after that, I'm gonna need to go on a holiday, a resort, or you could even say a cruise. Hop aboard the Daisy Cruiser, gentlemen. And lady, singular lady. I only have one of them in my audience. I did always think it was weird how there's just one side that's blocked off. Did anybody ever notice that? Was I the only one? Was I the only one who noticed? Am I the only one? I think I'm the only one, right? Funny enough, one of the things I really like about this stage is the items. Like the items kind of tilt along with the ship, you know? I always thought that was quite fun. And the pool in this one being hazardous also kind of makes it so you have to drift around. I always like the pool being hazardous a bit more. I understand why it's not in the modern day, but I always thought it was a bit better for me. And the dining room section is still quite fun. Hasn't got the lovely interior decoration that I like in the H Deluxe version, but it's still a decently fun section. And of course you have the basement of the cruiser as well, which is quite nice to snag a quick double. Those life preservers at the end offer a nice bit of mischievous chicanery, because you can whack into it and then it'll swing back and hit someone else. I never found that to be too useful in my childhood or even the modern day playing it, but it's still quite neat to have, and a shame that it's not in the 8 Deluxe version. But even then, if we're going set piece for set piece, this stage doesn't really do a lot for me. Like, the dining room is kind of cool, but that's really it, you know? I've never really been a big Daisy Cruiser stan in this version. The 8 Deluxe version managed to win me over by really selling me on the theme, but this one less so. And even 2.5 years after my original tier list, I think I still feel the same way, so Daisy Cruiser stands, look away. So after we're done chilling on the cruiser and getting a tan, we go to the stadium to see a show. The Waluigi Stadium. Hang on, I think someone cooked here. I mean, the small little tidbits be damned. The bouncing signs, the big screen with your face on it, the audience booing whenever you get hit or cheering whenever you take a jump to really sell you on the theming. I absolutely adore this. Especially this section here with the fire bars and the cutout piranhas. I think it really does sell you on the kind of dirt bike, thrill-seeking kind of nature that this track is going for. And not to mention that glorious sunset. It might only be in glorious 480p, but it's glorious for a reason, okay? It was charming. I said the word again. Arrest me. Arrest me. But yeah, this is just all around very fun to race on. With the ramps kind of forcing you to make sure you straighten out to get an item as being a nice little skill check. It's got a couple of fun shortcuts too, combined with the theming just being absolutely spot on. Yeah, Waluigi Stadium is for sure one of the good ones, without a shadow of a doubt. This one got many a play when I was a kid, and still gets many plays now. I do think the later iterations of this track have done it better. It's one of the rare cases where every time a track was brought back, it just got better. So it does leave the original a little bit wanting, but in the context of everything that it goes up against in this game, it is utterly fantastic. And I'll happily put it in the C word on all fronts tier. Is the music going to be bumping and jiving too, though? I really like the fact that the 8 Deluxe version swapped the melodies in the intro around. It gave that one its own unique kick, and I think it makes the original stand out just that extra bit more. I think the bass and the percussion really add to the bounciness of the melodies, the call and response melodies that you got going on, and I think it fits this racetrack fantastically. And then we get to my favorite part. I think the 8 Deluxe version does this part better, but it still fucks in this version, that's for sure. You're not shocked, are you? You better not be. So after we're done going to the most thrill-seeking stadium ever made, we're feeling the cold shoulder today, gamers, as we head to Sherbet Land. I don't know, guys. Can we leave ice tracks in 2024, please? Can that be our goal for this current year? Can we do that, please? I've had enough of this track theme. I really, really have. And while there have been some good ones, as there are with any track theme, Sherbet Land is the rule that proves the exception. I mean, even the night sky kind of thing was done way better in 8DX. I guess it's kind of neat that the walls have eyes, but then again, so everything has eyes. It doesn't help that it's a nightmare to control. Ice physics on an already slippery game is already nightmarish enough, so it just ends up being just not that fun to play on. Like, the layout isn't that bad. The freezes are quite nice in that they freeze you in an icicle block and ditch your items, so it's got that extra bit of... It's got that double dash edge to it, but overall, in a game that's full of that double dash edge, having that double dash edge is barely a selling point, you know? So it's already an uninteresting theme, layout that doesn't really inspire much, not too many interesting things in terms of the game design, plus ice track, plus ice track, plus ice track, plus ratio. Plus, hell nah. Hell nah. Surely you Sherbet bros cannot be in the mud on both a musical and a design front. The best part. It's actually quite nice hearing that note again. Like in Double, I don't know if you ever noticed in 8 Deluxe, but they kind of skip one of the final notes. So hearing it again in this version is actually quite nice. It's still quite nice to hear. I won't hate it for that. So you can stick it be. I am jiving. I would love to be a hater and go, but alas, I am a fair critic. I am very, very fair. I hate ice tracks, but I don't hate their music. And after we're done shivering, we have to start bickering with that biker that just nearly ran us over in Mushroom City. I mean, it's like Mushroom Bridge, but better. The nighttime vibes, fantastic. The cityscape you can see in the background, it really does feel like a Mushroom City. One thing I really like that I don't really see a lot of people talk about is just the weird dead ends. There's like so many dead ends on this. And the only reason I know that is because this is one of those stages I used to just explore when I was a kid. Like there's a bit off to the side here. There's like one on the other side too. There's that bit like near the start line, but then if you go backwards, there's also another one. There's just loads of bits where you can just kind of get lost. And it's nice that they have that in a way that doesn't completely ruin the immersion. I'm looking at you, Tour Cities, with your giant fuck off red arrows. But yeah, having a traffic track where you also have to contend with which path you're picking, something they never did before and they haven't done since, which gives the Mushroom City that unique edge about it too. And not to mention the signage. There's something about the signage in this game. You know, in Stadium they had them bouncing, and this one you have those nice amber orange colored signs that point you in the right direction. It's quite nice. I like it. Is it a world beater by any means? Not particularly. It doesn't really have too much else other than, of course, the Wiggler bus. It crashes into us. Overall, I think it's just kind of neat. And if it wasn't for Tour Cities kind of ruining the community's perception of cities, then I think this one would get maybe even more praise. But yeah, listen, this is definitely one of the good ones. It's definitely amazing on all fronts. A lot of fun to play on, for sure. It needs to come back in Mario Kart 9. And if it did, good, I'm glad it did. And if it didn't, fuck you, Nintendo, you suck. But am I going to be yelling obscenities at Nintendo when it comes to Yoshi Circuit? Now, gamers, I do believe I'm the first to make this discovery, because if we pan the camera out on Yoshi Circuit, you can see it is in fact shaped like bird. I like the fact that one of his cheeks is just kind of like a pool of water there. I thought it was a nice touch. I never actually noticed that until now. I think this stage is definitely a Star Cup staple that's earned its stripes. I know it's one of those tracks where they came up with the design and then just kind of hoped it worked with Double Dash. And in all fairness, it kind of does. Having it shaped like a Yoshi offers an interesting selection of both smaller turns and wider turns and smaller bumps as well, which I think makes for a pretty fun track. And also mentioned Yoshi Copter. Everyone say hello to Yoshi Copter. Hello, little copter, hello. And of course, it has my favorite thing ever made, the tunnel shortcut. Oh, yes. Nintendo, you will pay for the crime of removing this. You will pay dearly. Birdo watching? I never actually knew what that sign said. Birdo's watching? What does that mean? Fun turns, fun shortcuts, references as well. Come on now. You just can't go wrong, can you? You just can't go wrong. I'll leave it here. But after we're done shaping like a Yoshi, we ascend the mountain. The Donkey Kong Mountain. I think I'm the only one who's made this observation. The cannon is shaped like a Yoshi. I think DK Mountain is a perfect example of a racetrack that makes excellent use of Double Dash's physics. And you don't really, there's a sort of element of game design that I don't really consider too much, because I don't really feel like Nintendo does more often than not, right? Like physics, to design a track around how the physics of the game works, it definitely feels a bit weird to mention. But with the utter bumpiness of this road section of DK Mountain, coupled with the fact that when you're in the air, you're kind of locked somewhat horizontally, meaning you really have to make sure that you keep your head on the swivel and really wrangle these controls in this downhill section. Like the vibe that we're going for is you ascend the mountain and descend the harsh landscape. And while it might not have a lot of hazards, I think with the natural terrain of the track combined with the slipperiness, bumpiness of the controls, I think it makes for a very compelling racetrack to play on. And not to mention the iconic bridge. I mean, the less said about this, the better. All in all, it doesn't really do anything too crazy on a game design front, but it's just really, really fun to play. And at the end of the day, that's all you really need. And also, yeah, seeing your character just kind of hang on for dear life is also something fantastic in and of itself. Most people put this amongst the best in Double Dash, if not the best, and I'm inclined to agree, honestly. It's definitely top 3. And if this isn't in your top 3, I'm definitely raising my eyebrow, you know, that's for sure. Am I raising my eyebrows at the music though? I do like that, you know, kind of Tarzan cry that's mimicked in the music. Very nice touch. This one's definitely not beating the nostalgia allegations, as this was a track that I played way too much of as a kid, and a piece of music I heard plenty of too. And while I think it fits the theme quite nicely, I don't think it's that particularly good to listen to. Like, for example, with Peach Beach, does it necessarily fit the fast-paced Mario Kart game? Not really, but at least it sounds pleasant to listen to and matches the theme. This one sounds pleasant to and matches the theme, but doesn't quite have that same high as Peach Beach. So I don't think it's going to rank that highly as a result. I'd put it good enough. But once we finally descend from the mountain, we go to a Coliseum. A Wario Coliseum. Damn, he owns what? Stadiums, Coliseums, a fucking rundown shipyard. What will they give him next? A track that's extremely infamous for having only 2 laps because it's just that long. And having replayed this for the sake of this video, I am left scratching my head as to why. Why is it that long? Like, a lot of the stage doesn't really do enough to insist upon its large length. It's all length, no technique, as far as I'm concerned. Like, this roly-poly spinny bit here is quite decent. I think this turn up ahead can be a bit harsh if you don't take it correctly. But there isn't really too many parts where I'm like, oh, that's definitely Wario Coliseum, you know? The big jumps of Waluigi Stadium, the cannon shot of DK Mountain, the multiple pathways of Mushroom City. See, they all have like a deal about them. But this one, like, you have this drop section, I guess, and you have another bit where you can go around or jump up, and it's just like, okay, you're gonna give me something like more than just you pointing your fingers down at me, Mr. Wario? Yeah, it doesn't really do a lot to justify its long length. Like, there isn't so many cool set pieces or game design quirks where I'm really understanding its length. It's just literally long for no reason. It really, really is. And this isn't the first time he's made a stage that's long for no reason. Wario, you really gotta know when to dial it back there, brother. Okay, you're coming on a bit too strong there, lad. Unlike its N64 Stadium counterpart, though, this one didn't really feel like it dragged, which is thankfully because of the 2-lap count. Because if it was 3, then this would have been nightmarish. But even then, it still doesn't do enough to insist upon its long runtime. But it isn't offensive in any way, so I won't rank too low. I think in my old tier list, it managed to crack B. I'll put it in good enough. It does the job and is a solid enough start to the Special Cup. But as a standalone racetrack, I'm kind of just left going, good enough. But does the next track, Dino Jungle, leave me wanting? This is the part where I'd accuse them of, like, reusing assets because, oh, they had, like, the jungle theme already made from DK Mountain, so they just reused it in this stage, but I feel like with all the unique, like, dinosaur motherfuckers, like, roaming around, I feel like they did a good job with this one. You got, like, fucking pterodactyls, you got, like, stegosauruses in the water, you got, like, the fucking big-nosed fella blocking your way. You got this crystallized little cavern. I don't know, man. I fancy this jungle. This jungle is kind of cool. And unlike the last stage, we actually have some set pieces that make me go, oh, interesting.
That's what we've been waiting for!
You start off the racetrack with only 1 item box, but if you fancy another and you can aim your cart just right, you can hop aboard for another one. But if you want to risk it further, you have to contend with the stomping dinos' big-ass feet. In this version, they spin you out when you touch them, unlike in later versions where they simply just bump you. Unlike the 7 version, where going in between his feet is just extra coins, this one is extra items, which in Double Dash especially, you're definitely going to want. Items of currency in this game especially, and being able to avoid spinning out by touching his legs to grab another one can definitely be the difference between middle of the pack and leading the pack in this game. And after that, you get a little bit of a choose your poison section, you know? You got the standard yellow bridge that offers a consistent path. You have the wider orange bridge that gives you a double but slows you a bit down, and then you have the best of speed with the boost pad section here. Very tricky to stay on in this game. Good lord, is it very, very tricky to stay on. But offers something alternative for you thrill seekers out there. And then you get onto the cave, which I really, really like too. Not only do you have like a pretty cool shortcut just right over here, but then the geysers offer a pretty decent hazard. The road isn't too big here, so you might find yourself being squeezed by the competition. And not to mention with these geysers flinging you straight up, Cataquack style, you really got to be a bit careful on this bit. You really, really do. And then you contend with Dino Fella's big fat nose before doing a Yui into more geysers before they conclude the lap. See, it's got enough going about it. You know, I like it. You're constantly doing decently or really interesting things. And even though the theme might not particularly win me over, I do like the fact that there's a jungle that isn't based off of Donkey Kong for once. It's just prehistoric and it looks kind of all right, you know? I mean, when I was 4 years old, I became a dino kid for a little bit. So the dinos, trucks, or space. I feel like when you're 4 years old, you kind of just get randomly assigned to one of those. For me, it was dinos. What was yours? And I think it's that dino connection I have that's definitely going to put it in the A tier. Definitely in the A tier. I think there's more than enough going on. I have a solid fun time racing on this, and I think it earns its spot. But now, gamers, royalty has invited me, for I have got a seat at the table in the castle. The Bowser's Castle. The Koopa King himself. Bowser's Castle. Now, I mean, here's an example of a track that's really long, but actually justifies its length. Wario, take notes. And you start off with a very simple but narrow thwomp section. Touching them spins you out in this game. So you really got to be careful if you want to stay leading the pack into the next section. You got these fireballs that are honestly quite tricky to avoid. You got to have your head on a swivel with this fireball bit. The more observant people will know that there's some singed grating to indicate exactly where the fireballs will land. They telegraph their positioning enough with raising up before coming down, but it kind of gives you a bit of that, risk it for the biscuit factor, If you see one coming up, do you decide to take its path or do you decide to switch lanes last minute? It's quite nice. You got to keep your head on a swivel here. And then a short spiral section into another section I quite like. You get more of what Dry Desert did. You know when they had like pokies and they kind of like move their head around to kind of guard an item box? You have a bit of that chicanery going on with this firebar here as well. If their positions are favorable, you can very easily snag an item. But if not, then you're going to have to thread the needle if you want to end up snagging a higher place with a new item. A couple of harsh U-turns greeted by the signs that absolutely do not want you there. And right before you go in the castle, you get a nice view of that broken pier-ass landscape. Before you see the Spectacle Bowser, the first of a wonderful trend. I think this one doesn't insist upon itself, but also insists that you pay attention to. And I think this one doesn't really steal the show, but demands a bit of acting credit, The firebars can both be a threat coming down as well as going up, especially with that shortcut that entices you to, maybe snag a few extra places. It's got all the factors of a really compelling hazard. Couple that with just a pretty neat jump towards the end, and you've got a solid lap in Bowser's abode, for sure. I'm absolutely enjoying my time here. Maybe you could argue this goes on for a little longer than you'd like, but I've never really felt that way personally. I've seen a couple people say that, not me though. And I think for that reason, it's also jumping in the S tier. I think it's earned its place. Good job, Bowser. What about the music though? Does your music also stack up? Foreboding. Menacing. Oh, you're in Bowser's house now, and you are not welcome. Give me the harpsichord. Oh, ha, 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 ya, ha, 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 oh, ha, ha. I always felt like this one was the N64's one, realized a lot better. I really do like the N64 Bowser Castle's music, but I don't really think it fits Mario Kart too well. It doesn't really have that energy about it that really fits this chaotic game. And I think this one marries them both perfectly. You have that, I think it's a snare in the background kind of leading the way. You have that chanting that's a lot more involved in the melody this time round. I think it marries atmosphere with a bit of, bounciness. And I think it marries, it's a lovely marriage. They're on a good honeymoon, they are. They really are. You're going in the playlist, Bowser. How does it feel? Once we're done having dinner with Bowser, we go to a road. A rainbow road. Has my opinion changed from 2.5 years ago? In my old tier list, I was noticeably harsh to this rainbow road. And I think, in general, I understand where I was coming from. Especially coming straight off of Bowser's Castle, where it felt like there was always something to do. This one has a bit too many long stretches of a bit of nothing, The parts where you do, in fact, do stuff end up just being a bit too harsh, if you ask me. Like, you have the spiral section here with a bunch of boost pads, but sometimes it almost feels like you don't want to take a boost pad with the amount of slipperiness that these controls have. Staying on this is not as easy as it looks. And I wouldn't necessarily mind it being a bit tough if the rest of the track kind of set that tone, but then you're led into a straight road of basically nothing but basic lefts and rights, and then an ascension into more basic lefts and rights to capture speed boosts. I mean, it looks amazing, don't get me wrong. The floating items, the mushroom city down below. Good lord, is it vibes maxing. But in a game that is just full-on vibes maxing, I don't think you're winning me too hard on the vibes front, Rainbow Road. As fantastic as you are on that front. And not to mention, in the modern day, when we have other Rainbow Roads that have mastered the art of spectacle, while this one definitely has its Double Dash charm about it. I said the word again, sue me. It doesn't quite do enough to win me over personally. The shooting stars, and yes, I am including those shooting stars, as funny as it is to get a star in first place. But I definitely don't think it's D tier as I did originally. I think it definitely has enough going about it in terms of, the game design you do get to enjoy and the spectacle on offer, where I think it's at least better than these three, I'll leave you about here. It's good enough. You're not winning any awards, GCN Rainbow Road, but you don't get a thumbs up, you get a... And for the final piece of music of the game, It needs absolutely no introduction. It's got a road, it's got a rainbow road. It is the road that you go. It's got a road, it's got a rainbow road. And we will know when you get there. It's got a road, it's got a rainbow road. It is the road that you go. It's the road that you go when you die. Good Lord, does it fill me with the absolute peak of joy and whimsy that this era was absolutely known for, and I will never stop glazing. And of course, we have to give Double Dash its props for starting that wonderful trend of bringing back that N64 motif. And boy, is it done to great effect here. I don't even need to show you where I put it. It should be more than obvious enough. And there you have it, gamers. The tier list. So what do you think of the revised version, huh? Have I become lame and cringe, or am I based and cool? If you've gotten this far, you might as well paste your tier list and let me have a look, eh? And while you do that, I would like to thank my glorious Musquire members. We have got the knights you can see in the description, and the wizards and royal guard you can see on the screen right about now. Thank you so much for all of your support. The videos have been lacking a tiny bit, but I promise we're full steam ahead, okay? We got stuff cooking in the cooker, 110%. And hey, why let the fun times stop there? I've got more videos. I mean, are you new to Mario Kart Musty? There's a whole playlist up on top, and if you want something a little different, the second channel has you covered. Even more stuff. So do be sure to check that out. Leave a like before you go, and until next time, there's your lot.